My uncle's just asking for what my father would have given him if he was boss when Richie got out of prison.
That mob thing. We know you do the right thing.
That's right. Little f***ing tough guy, huh? You bastard.
It's over for the little guy.
Hey guys, this is Jason Cerbone, Jackie Jr. from The Sopranos. You're listening and watching the Burn Down Podcast.
What's going on, everybody? Welcome back to another episode of the Burn Down Podcast. Today's guests, plural, is from The Sopranos. We have Eugene, Patsy, and Jackie, a.k.a. Robert, Dan, and Jason, all joining the podcast. Gentlemen, thank you for coming on.
What's up, guys? Thank you for having us.
It's an honor and a pleasure. It's a very real moment that some of the guys on my favorite show are on my podcast, so I appreciate it. It's a beautiful thing.
Good to hear.
Happy to be here.
It's actually it's funny. So he is actually married to the real life Meadow.
Oh God!
And I say his wife is a spitting image of Meadow in the show, and I think she was called that all throughout high school and stuff. And I'm watching, and I go, I feel like I'm watching your wife. So he married the real life Meadow.
That's
real life Meadow.
Yeah.
Pretty nice.
We've met real life
She's a
family
beautiful
guy.
girl.
There's a lot of real life people out there.
I'm sure there's a lot of doppelgangers out there. You get a little weirded out with how.
Your wife is 100% a doppelganger. It is a spitting image of Meadow.
Right.
Wow.
Oh, we'll take it.
Jamie Lynn is a beautiful girl, and she never forgot a line. Brilliant.
Really? How old was she when you started The Sopranos?
I think she was 14.
I think 14, 15, 16 in that era.
Very impressive. And even the first, she never forgot a line, huh?
No, she's brilliant. She's a brilliant actress.
That's very impressive.
Because
you can see, being a young actress, you get a little nervous, and you could probably forget. And that's very impressive.
Most definitely. So, gentlemen, we're smoking your cigars, the Omerta Cigars. We're drinking the Omerta Coffee.
Yes.
Our favorite pairing, cigars and coffee. So thank you for the care package. My first question to you guys is, obviously you guys are all friends from the show, but how did you become business partners? How did you guys get into coffee and cigars? Like, how did that all develop?
Go ahead, Bob. Take it from you.
Okay. I joined Instagram. My sister said, join Instagram. And it was just like, wow, this is great. A lot of people from the show appreciate what you do. Anyway, two Riches, contacted me, the coffee guys and cigar guys. Richie contacted me and he said, would you be willing to, interested in, promoting our cigars and taking a bit of an interest in it financially? And I said, I have a businessman, Andrew Jedlaka from Andrew Frank Group, and I passed the baton to him and say, hey, these guys seem pretty cool. Why don't you just look into it? And I spoke to Andrew. I said, me alone is okay, but let's bring in a couple of the guys. And my friends Danny Grimaldi and Jason Cerbone would be a great fit. We're all friends, and that's how it happened. So they got us together as a group, and then Andrew took it from there, and here we are.
Wow. Now, who's the biggest cigar guy out of all three of you?
Well, I became more of a cigar guy. The golf pulled it out.
The golf pulls it out. Yes, it does.
Yeah, man. That's what it is, honestly. Outside, smoking a cigar, nice. It calms you down a little bit.
Most definitely.
Losing those balls, hitting those bad shots. So you just keep smoking the cigar, man. Just keep smoking the cigar.
It's almost an excuse. It's honey, you play a lot of golf. Well, I like cigars, so it gives me an excuse to smoke cigars.
Yeah, exactly. No, but like Bobby said, we got involved with these guys, and from there it was, trying out all the different coffees and kind of picking out the ones that we thought would work best for our line. And, we like a little bit of this one, that one, and what flavors. And then same thing with cigars. We really got to, put our input into what the product line was going to be like and about. And it's been fun, actually. It's a totally different thing for all three of us, really, to get involved in something like this.
And we also got involved in the naming of the company, as well as the logos on all the bags of coffee. So not only did we promote, but we did take part in the creative packaging and
So you're telling me you were part of the creative process with your face on it, huh?
What do you want for a logo?
that-
My face.
he wanted that for every single bag, and I said, no, you can't just do that.
I said, you got to
We
put the
don't
three
need more
guys.
than that.
Three guys
That's
got to
it.
be on there, man. Three guys.
That's a great shot.
So how many different? I know you have quite a few. How many different flavors of coffee, flavors of cigars that you guys have?
I think we got 17 flavors.
Yeah.
Something like that, right?
17?
The coffee, we got a lot of coffees.
Yeah.
Yeah,
A lot
about
of coffees.
17
We have
flavors.
5 cigars.
Yeah.
Wow.
Now you can is there a like a package that you can purchase all 17 in one big fell swoop, or is it more just?
Yeah, you can. We have the gift baskets, like certificates, and you can order all that stuff. I mean, and there are discounts for bulk orders. I'm sure. Yes.
Because I love coffee, and I'm very interested in the one that we're having right now. For people that are listening that can't see it, is we're having this one, Eugene's early retirement.
Oh, that's a nice one.
It's a
man.
great pick.
It says, enjoy this medium roast cafe blend bursting with notes of vanilla, caramel, and Kahlua, actually. And when it was brewing, I'll tell you, it smelled up my house something real nice.
One thing about it is they are flavored, but the bottom coffee, the taste of it, you still taste the coffee, and you're drawn to it again and again because it's just not overly flavored.
Yeah.
I don't know if you get that, but that's the great thing. The coffees have a great base to them. I woke up this morning, Danny and Jason's, they're straight coffees, but mine is good too because of that coffee bottom,
Yeah, and
you
I
can
think that's
purchase
a good point that you make up, because there's a lot of coffee nowadays, especially out of the old Green Mermaid one. I'm not going to boast them, but the old green coffee store that has a million these different flavors, and it's just sugar bombs left and right. And I go, I just want a cup of coffee. Yeah. Just give me a normal cup of coffee. It's okay if it's got hints of this and hints of that. I love that, but don't put all this sugar flavor crap in there. Just give me coffee. Okay.
These are very good coffees. These are very tasty, and you can buy them purchase at www.shopomerta.com. That's where you can purchase.
And now you guys
are do the 3 W's. www. Don't just do the 2.
I don't even think. To be quite honest, I don't even think you need it anymore. You could probably just go to you don't even need the www.
Actually,
and you guys are in stores as well for the coffee.
What's that?
Are you guys in
We're
supermarkets?
starting to.
Okay.
Yeah, you guys just had a partnership with
a
large corporation, I believe, right? Didn't she just sign something with 1-800 Flowers?
1-800
Flowers. We're in some food towns, right, Jason? And
we're in some food towns.
Ocean City.
Yeah,
at the boardwalk.
yes, we have a place in
Chico
right.
and Sons.
We're doing. Yes, we have like a franchise location up further down by Atlantic City as well. So we're looking to branch out as far as like actual. Brick and mortar, you want to say, places.
Yeah.
But right now, a lot of it is online.
Well, I know what's really cool is that you have the whole combination of coffee and cigars, and one that is our favorite combination or pairing when it comes to drinks and cigars. But two, a lot of the cigar lounges also offer coffee. So if you can get into the brick and mortar cigar lounge and say, hey, listen, I also have a coffee line, bring them both in, and now you have the pairing. So I think it's a great concept that you guys, and I think it's the only, correct me if I'm wrong, I think it's the only company that has both, like a coffee cigar brand.
I don't know.
You said it, and I'm going to stand by that. We're the only ones.
I can't think of any other ones.
People.
Rubber stamp that mother right here.
I honestly can't think of any other ones. Usually it's just coffee or cigars, but to have one that comes out with both, saying these are supposed to go together.
Think you're right. I don't think I've ever seen a cigar company offer. Maybe like a different cigar, like a different coffee brand, but not their own in their own umbrella. So let's keep it that way. I like to think that way too.
That's it.
For sale, that's whole beans. So you have it like I have a grinder. I have a grinder that's next to my Keurig, and I put the non-disposable dispensers. That's the greatest thing. You can grind it and put it right in that non-disposable thing in Keurig or whatever the thing is that the holes in it.
Yeah, a little pod or whatever it is.
Do you guys?
It's nothing like that fresh feel, and people. I'm just saying, this coffee is ice. It's the next Rayo's of coffee.
No, it's
Wales is
delicious.
I gotta be
coffee.
honest, it's delicious.
It's
It's
a
very,
good
very
call.
good.
It's
very
delicious. Not
tasty.
saying that just because you guys are here, but this is a
No.
delicious.
It's very
cup
bold
of
and
coffee.
flavorful for sure.
I spoke to Danny. Danny had told me, like, Bobby, I do a lot of these things, but this is really good coffee, good cigars, good coffee. He tells me it's true. We do a lot of promotions, but really proud of this.
Do any of you guys still use a percolator for the coffee?
Not the
plug
percolator,
don't
but I
work.
do a
That's the
drip. I
problem.
do a drip. I like a drip pot.
Yeah, I still use a percolator. I have a percolator in my kitchen.
Do
now.
you really?
Yeah,
Do you
yeah.
really?
My dad, like 5-6 years ago, just whipped it out one day. I'm like, what is this machine? Like this contraption? He's like, this is like the way we used to have coffee. And then ever since then, it just tastes much better to me.
You ever go real old school into a pour over?
No, I don't even know what
You
that
gotta
is.
get yourself a pour over. You know what a pour over is?
I tried using the French press once. It seemed like a lot of work for me.
You get some hot. You boil some water, some like hot water, and then it's just a thing that just sits on top of your mug, and you put the coffee in that, and you just pour hot water over it. That's the real old school way. I use a drip machine too, just because I like the way that it smells up the house.
Me too. Yeah, and honestly, I'm like a coffee snob when it comes to the coffee part of it, and because I don't put anything. I drink coffee black, so if the coffee isn't good, like I'm not fancying it up with sugar and all these sweeteners and this and that. I drink my coffee plain black, and so again, it's got to be good coffee, and this coffee is really good. Honestly.
Yeah, I agree.
And the aroma is fabulous. I mean, the smell of each of the brands that we have, each of the different brands, the smell, the aroma is unbelievable.
Well, that's part of the coffee too. It's part of the whole experience, right? My wife. One of the reasons we have the drip pot is because of you can get that smell in the house. I mean, aside, we're each drinking 2 cups of coffee in the morning. My sister drinks a cup, so it's like once you get there, you can't be doing 5, 6, 7 Keurigs. Just make a freaking pot. Everybody's gonna have a few cups.
Yeah.
But when she wakes up in the morning, she always says, "Yeah, I wake up because of the smell of coffee." Because we put the program on so that the coffee brews before you wake up, and it smells up the house. And she goes, "I can smell the coffee."
It's
from
like
up
the Folgers commercial.
Oh, it's great. And then you open a bedroom door, and you're just like, "Oh, it's such a nice smell, such a great smell."
That's why we woke up this morning. That's why we got the woke up this morning. Yeah, that's
Better than an alarm clock.
Now, do you know why?
At least an alarm clock.
Do you guys know why cigars or tobacco rather and coffee go so well as such a great pairing? Have you ever heard of the reasoning why it's so good together? So,
I've heard a lot of people say that they like the pairing. I do as well, but no, I don't. I don't have a good reason why.
So now you guys can use this as well, but it's something called the tobacco belt and the bean belt. So on the equator of the world, where is all the coffee and tobacco grown? In all warm countries, we're all around the equator.
Brazil,
We like to say what grows together goes together. So tobacco and coffee are grown in the very same regions. Hence why they go.
Feel
so
free
well.
to use that in any promotional, in any commercials.
What grows together goes together. There we go.
Very nice.
You heard it here first.
Nice quote.
So you guys are more than welcome to use that. Throw us
like
some
that.
credit every now and then. But yeah, you're good.
Sure. Well, I don't know if you guys heard this, but we're the only company to have coffee and cigars under the same umbrella. I don't know.
See, I did. You know what? I did hear that. I did hear that.
I might have heard that from a bird in the summer.
I might have heard that on a show. Isn't there a podcast that said that?
Nah, those guys are whack. Now, how did you guys come up with the name? Obviously, we know the word Omerta, but what was like the creative process for you guys, like coming up? Because I think that's the hardest part about coming up with anything is like, what are we going to call it? So, how did you guys come up with that?
Well, we were definitely tossing around a bunch of names, but something about Omerta was like respect and the idea of like the imagery of the cigars and the link with the Sopranos and it just we all kind of I think jumped on that one as soon as that one went up on the board. It felt like the one.
Yeah.
It was the one to beat for sure, and it didn't hurt that it has an R in the word as well. So we got the handgun there.
Yeah, I like that. Yeah,
No, it's a great touch.
Yeah.
I got the marketing brain, so I'm always about branding and how things look and how things people perceive things. So it's a very nice touch. It looks perfect.
Well, I mean, the big thing is that it was a mob word, and so but also it meant respect as well as silence. But it also was, like Jason said, it was easily identifiable with the Sopranos, and also with respect, and something that should be honored. And it just worked. It was a one word, and it was just was just sounded right when we hit on it.
And it's a strong word too, you know, and the way that you have it written out in like the block lettering with the handgun, it's a visually strong, which I like when if you're coming up with a brand name, you want something that's powerful, has some meaning behind it, but is also visually, you don't want something that's kind of, somebody's gonna look, okay, they probably could have done a better job on that. It's kind of lackadaisical. This is bam, in your face, strong, has meaning behind it. You have the little touch with the handgun. It's a very nice.
And the pictures do a great job too.
Yeah, and then you got a picture. You got a picture of his face right on here, and just looking right at you, like holding up a gun. Hey, buy my coffee.
We do have the picture of us on the back of it. On we had bags but the new bags have the pictures of us, 3 of us on the back, which is kind of cool too.
Is it this picture?
Yes, that's correct.
By the way, thank you very much for this as well. You're welcome. This is awesome.
Is that where the flagship location is? Is this location or no?
That's a place in Long Island called A&S, in front of A&S. Kind of our like pseudo Satriel's kind of a place. And
gotcha.
We enjoyed it going there and hanging out and taking some shots and showing off our Omerta.
Hey,
there you go. And where is that in Long Island?
Nice.
Hey,
there you go.
We got merch.
Hey, that's right.
ShopOmerta.com. ShopOmerta.com.
Where is that location on Long Island where you took that picture?
Are you talking about A&S?
Yeah, in A&S.
Oh, where's that? Where's it? Hicksville? Maybe I don't know.
Okay, sure.
Okay,
yeah.
Because
good sandwiches and good pizza there. Good pizza and good sandwiches.
Yes, the pizza was good.
Good food.
Yes, very good.
And they're very supportive of us, so
that's all that matters then.
Yeah.
Because none of you guys are Long Island guys, right? Dan, Brooklyn, Rob, or Bob is Staten Island, and Jason's Yonkers, right? Or where'd you guys all grow up?
I wasn't. I grew up in Yonkers.
Yeah, you grew up.
Yeah,
sorry.
now
That's where you grew up.
Yeah. No, but I'm still in Westchester. Yeah.
I'm also Sag Harbor.
Oh,
right.
So you're in Long Island.
Oh, okay,
all right.
Long Island. That's right. I'm in Melville, Huntington area.
Okay. Yeah.
Okay.
Nice.
So it took me 3 hours to get home from Huntington like a couple of weeks ago.
It's brutal.
Brutal.
We got people.
I'll never forget it.
It's brutal.
When we have guests on, they come from Queens, Brooklyn, Jersey, and we're like, "Hey, give yourselves ample amount of time because." And they're like, "Oh, I'll leave." I'm like, "No. I don't think. If you've been in Long Island, I don't think you know. It's one way.
You don't understand. Okay.
It's so brutal.
Danny loved that drive home. Boy,
Oh yeah. An extra hour and a half or whatever it was.
I just try not. I just avoid it at all costs. I'm like, if I don't have to leave the house, I'm not leaving the house.
My family.
You guys are in Long Island, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean,
I am. He's up
right
in Westchester, but right now, yeah.
Right now.
Yeah.
Correct.
This is my pool house turned studio.
I have family from Long Island. My great grandfather. He had land near Grumman's Air Force Base out there in Long Island.
Sure. Yeah.
For the government was allowing people, it was all government owned, of course, and they were allowing people, farmers, to get a plot of land there, and they would lease the land. They would, rent it very inexpensively, and they grew produce, and they would take the produce back to Brooklyn and sell it, and whatever they didn't sell, they would eat. So, back then in the 40s, that's the way it was. But my family, I still have family out there in Brentwood, and
oh wow, okay.
So I mean, my family's still out there in a way, but we lived in Brooklyn, so. And
there's not much farmland anymore here on Long Island.
No.
You go way out east.
Well, they
there's
sold
a little
it.
bit.
My great grandfather sold that. He eventually bought the land and he sold it to Grumman's. So he made a bit of and he built homes in Brooklyn and Long Island and stuff. That's what he bettered himself, along the way. But started as farmers, yeah.
I don't even know if that Grumman's thing is there anymore. But I'm sorry. Go ahead, Dan.
Yeah, I said I'm playing an Italian American in 1960 in Ronkonkoma, who rents a shanty to Puerto Ricans that nobody else will rent to.
Is that that's something they're working on right now?
We did some readings of it. It's supposed to go up in May.
Oh, nice.
Oh, nice.
All right, Ronkonkoma, put Long Island on the map. All right,
in
let's
the
go.
60s. In the 60s.
I love
when
that.
it was farmland.
When it was farmland.
Yeah, most definitely. Yeah.
He started building the cookie cutter housing. They call them the Levitt houses.
So he's a slumlord in Ronkonkoma.
He's a slumlord in Ronkonkoma.
That's so funny.
Well, maybe offline we'll talk about. Maybe you can drop the title offline. Obviously not now because it hasn't released yet. But I'd be interested to watch that. That sounds pretty cool.
Feminine Hours it's a play.
Oh, Feminine Hours. Okay, you can say it.
Play,
Cool.
yeah.
Beautiful. Yeah, my I gotta ask my mom, but my great grandfather used to own like a in Brooklyn. What was it? It was like a milk and egg stand years and years ago back in Brooklyn, and we probably got it from Long Island, like you said. I never actually thought of that. I gotta confirm, but he used to have cheese, eggs. It was Sakuro, I think it was Sakuro cheese, eggs, and milk stands. It was something crazy, but that's I never realized that's what they did. Very interesting. And so let's talk about how you guys got onto the Sopranos. So,
yeah, let's talk about some Sopranos stuff. Man.
So obviously, my favorite show, right? Just like,
I mean, it's only fitting, right? We got 3 Sopranos on. We got to talk about Sopranos.
I mean, you got to do it.
Okay.
So how I know you guys, doing your research on you guys. You guys acted before, but how did you guys all get onto the Sopranos? Like, what was that process like? I guess trying out for it. The environment. Did you guys feel intimidated? Not feel intimidated? What was that whole process?
Yeah, because I know there was a lot of there was a lot of things that you guys had done prior to Sopranos. So what was that process like? Like how did you each get onto the show?
Well,
Jason,
Dan. I think Dan's got a pretty interesting one because when anyone watches the show, he had a twin brother. So Dan, why don't you lead the way?
Because Dan, you had a very extensive background. You got a PhD, a master's, and you got into some acting. So I'd be interested to hear about your background.
My background?
How you got into the Sopranos?
The Sopranos?
What's that? Do we know that? Do we know that show?
Are they singers? Are they people who
I wasn't out.
Not to be confused with the tenors.
Sorry.
Okay?
I get confused.
Get the nurse. Can somebody get the nurse? Dan, real quick.
Are you guys the Sopranos?
Are we on the show right now? Is this a
I
podcast?
don't sing. I don't have a good voice. I don't know.
I think you need some. I think you need some coffee and a cigar.
Well, okay. So I mean, basically, after the first season, everybody wanted to be on The Sopranos. Every actor in America, and myself included, we all wanted to be on. So I auditioned actually for the dealer. I forget his name, but he gets killed in 2 episodes or something, and I didn't get the part. And I'm very glad I didn't get the part. I was unhappy at the time, but I didn't get the part. So Philly Parisi, which was season 2, episode 1. And I don't know this as a fact. I keep forgetting to ask David Chase, who was a genius that created this. He, after they became a big hit in the first season, I auditioned for Philly in October. They were already in production for season 2. And if you watch Philly, he summarizes the whole first season in like 3 minutes. Tony goes to see a psychiatrist, and his mother. They try to kill him. He tried to kill his mother. So he goes on and on about. He's like summarize, and it was like, hey, if you didn't see the first season, this is what happened. And he was the first new character, and it looked like he was a big character because he was taking over for Junior, and I was killed in 4 minutes. So that was the end of my big role. I mean, it's going to happen. I auditioned for the part. I got the part, and I was very happy. I was ecstatic when I did the role. I spoke to the director and I said, do you have to shoot me? Alan Coulter was the director, and he's like my angel. He said, Danny, sometimes you get shot on this show, and it's a good thing. I said, really? Could you miss? I mean, because you wanted to stay on this show.
Yeah.
So what happened was they were shooting in Italy at the time. Those the Italian scenes. And Chase, when he came home, I just found out. Alan just told me this story at the 25th anniversary party. He said, when David came home from Italy, I said to him, you made a big mistake killing this guy. And David looked at him and said, I know I did. So they went in, they watched the rushes, and he liked my work, which was what I always wanted in my life. I wanted my work to move me ahead. And he liked what I did, and he turned to Terry Winter and he said, you can use the twin card once, and I'm going to use it on this guy. And then he created Patsy.
Wow.
Wow. So from 1 episode, it became 47.
Now did you?
You left some kind of mark on this guy. That must have been. You probably the feeling that what was the feeling like when you got the call? Said, hey, you know what? We're gonna pull a twin card. You're back in.
Yeah.
Well, there were rumblings, and this was after we shot that in October, and there was rumblings, and then they created Patsy in January for the one scene where he steps, he comes with the fur coat, and then the scene on the boardwalk. But then it was, is he going to come back? And that was the question. Am I going to be on the show, or is that it? And so that was it. Till the summer, I had to wait, and I was away. And my agent had told me, there's rumblings, they're going to call you back, blah 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 blah. And I told my son, my youngest son James, I was in Italy, going to Italy, and I said, if they call, you call me, no matter what time it is. I don't care if it's the middle of the night. I want to know if I'm going back. And sure enough, I went back. And the first day I went to costume, they showed me my closet, which I had never, I had never been a regular on a show. And they had like 15 costumes. And she looked at me and she said, well, I guess you're going to be in a lot of episodes this season.
Beautiful.
So
You're probably on cloud nine. You're probably like, oh,
I'm the
shit.
luckiest guy on the show, I think. I'm the luckiest. And I'm very grateful. I was grateful to be Philly and ecstatic to be Patsy.
Now, did you when you had to pee in the pool, did you get stage fright, or was that natural? You were just ready to go?
I drank a lot of water before that. It was a tough shoot. No.
In fairness, he pees everywhere we go.
You're probably like, thank God, I have to pee so bad. You put this in the scene. Thank
It
you.
was technical. There was a hose with a tube that ran up my leg
That's funny.
to the right. Now I had to be drunk. I had to hold a gun, and I had to hold there was a valve on the tube. And the first time I turned it on, I shot it into the next yard. And they wanted a small arc. They wanted an arc.
Oh, yeah, it's all about the arcs.
She got like a half a turn on the tube.
They wanted it one arc so they could bounce the light off it, which I actually did in one take. And Jeff Marchetti was the PA, and he was the mayor of the set. Everybody loved him. He was funny. He was the PA. He was down at my feet, and it was MOS, so there was no sound. And he was ragging me, and I'm trying to create drunk. I'm trying to do this. I'm trying to make the valve go. It was a hose with a tube, and
That's great.
It's the magic of movies.
That was probably hilarious. The first thing, going, oh shit!
Oh yeah,
cut. Do it again.
I just turned and boom, it just shot out.
That's great.
Probably look back at him like, was that good? Can we keep that? Was that good?
And the funny thing about it, when I read the script, we have a reading of the script, a table read before we do the episode. And I saw that I was going to pee in the pool. And I was so happy because I knew I would be the guy who peed in Tony's
Yeah,
pool.
most definitely.
Anybody
of course.
who I was introduced to. Do you remember me? I was the guy that peed in Tony's pool. I even told Mayor Giuliani at one of the premieres, I told Giuliani that, Mayor Giuliani. I said, Mr. Mayor, I peed in Tony's pool.
That's great. That's great.
So, it was nice to be known because without the glasses, I was not that recognizable in public. So that's what.
The guy who peed in Tony's pool.
Yeah. I mean, that was the first thing I was like, "Oh, I'm having Patsy on. We got to ask him how he peed in the pool." That's like the biggest thing.
That's why you don't realize that there's the movie magic, right? They give you a hose, and it's like, listen, you gave me a hose with like fire hose pressure. Why don't you just give me a little leaky hose, right?
Just give me a little.
All right, you guys are up.
All right, who wants to go? Who wants to go next?
It's like a round table.
Jason.
Sure. So for me, similarly, actually, I auditioned for like the role of a pizza kid. Like I think it was like a 2-line role originally, and I got the callbacks and was really hoping that I would get that. And when I didn't get it, I was like totally devastated. Like, that was my chance to be on the show. And within a couple months, the role of Jackie Jr. came up. And I was able to audition for that because I didn't get that other role. So you really never know, what opportunities could be there. At the time, you're disappointed, and then it turns into something better. It's kind of the same thing, Dan. I didn't know. They brought me in at the end of the second season, and they had Meadow and I kind of, chatting in the background, and it looked like, maybe that could be a little something that they want to sort of plant. but I didn't know for sure if I was coming back season 3, or if the character would be back at all. And luckily enough, I was back. And, I had a great run and a lot of fun with everybody.
It's funny. It's funny how things work like that, right? It's funny how how God works in mysterious ways, where you think that you're the one role that you really wanted, you didn't get, and it's like, oh man, you're just crushed. Like, man, that was my shot. It's like, got something better for you.
No,
it's funny.
It would have taken me right out of the running for the other.
Right?
I mean, that would have been it. So it's like, yeah, it is. It's really something.
And you know what I noticed? I actually noticed you, Jason. After I watched The Sopranos a few times, and I started at the time dating my girlfriend at the time, not my wife, but she was a big Law and Order fan. So I was just always stuck watching Law and Order, and then every episode I would watch. I'm like, I'm like, there's a million Sopranos characters in here, but you were the first guy I noticed on the show, and then I noticed Tony Soprano's sister. I noticed all these people. I'm like, I guess everyone who goes from The Sopranos goes over to Law and Order. So it was funny.
Yeah, that episode was called Jackie Jr. Goes to Law School. Right? It was like,
he finally made it.
The other way around, Law and Order was the best show in New York before The Sopranos was created.
Most definitely.
And we were all on it. We all did many. Bobby's on it a million times.
Yeah.
I was on it 5 or 6 times. Jason's on it. Because I've been watching a lot of the reruns. You just see your friends 30 years ago. I mean, it's incredible to see the people that were on that show.
It's a New York institution. Yeah.
Most definitely.
How many spin-offs of Law and Order?
Law and Order is still going.
It's still going. There's so many of them.
Yeah.
It's just an iconic show. So Bobby, that was your first show, right? Was Law and Order, and then we went from Law and Order into The Sopranos?
No, Sopranos was my first.
Was it?
Job, yeah. I had done a play with James Gandolfini, Streetcar Named Desire, like 8 years prior to Sopranos, and we kind of kept in touch. And then he went to L.A. and I lived my life, and I was working at Caroline's on Broadway. And a friend of mine went up to him at a party at the end of the second season and said to him, my friend Gordon Silver, God bless him, he went up to him and said, if I was you, I'd get your friend Bobby Funaro a job on your hit show, Sopranos. He's a really arrogant guy, so he had the Cleones to do that. And Jimmy said, like, he was a great guy. What's Bobby doing? Because we lost touch. He's working at Caroline's. He's managing Caroline's. And, oh, really, really? And then a role came up on the 3rd season, and Jimmy thought I was right for it. And he came down to Caroline's. He went with his driver, Joe Fay. He forgot what comedy club I was at. Then he found Caroline's and went to a few, and he got to Caroline's. And Caroline's, you walk down the steps, because it's a basement thing in a building on 50th Street. It's a basement showroom, comedy room. And I was regular day going into work, and Jimmy's at the bar having a drink. And I said, what the hell are you doing here, man? Good seeing you. And the rest is the history. Wow. He asked me to audition. He couldn't promise me a role, and I landed a role, and that was my first professional job. I was really blessed to be on the show.
That's great.
And to do it. That was my story. That's how I got on.
Wow.
So I had a little angel.
Yeah, most
the
definitely.
Best angel you ever could have.
Most definitely.
One of your friends.
Yeah.
Because it's very tough for us to break into that circle. The agent thing for years, trying to get an agent is so difficult. So when you have a friend that makes it and thinks about you, that's the great. And I try to, if I can help any of my friends, I try to do the same thing, because it's so tough. It's so tough to work as an actor all the time. And that's why they created things like the Actor Studio, these things because there's a lot of downtime. So it helps to know people, and you do a little bit more work.
It's all about who you know.
Yeah. So how is the process changed over the years from, auditioning way back? I don't want to say way back then. I mean, 2000, but to, where you'd said, okay, you had a friend who said, hey, come in audition. You walk in your audition, you get the job. How has it changed until now, where I imagine there's so much more, that goes into it, and you have to follow these processes and fill out these forms and do this and do that. How has it changed over the years?
COVID crisis changed a lot of stuff. It broadened everything with the Zooms and stuff like that. There's not as many in-person meets and greets. Everyone is just at home. I personally don't like that process, although it's nice to go in for a callback, but the talent pool is widened. It seems they use more than the New York actors. They use a whole wide bunch of talent. Talent flies in from different places of the country. So I personally don't like it very much, but it is what it is. It's what happened. You know.
So I go back a lot longer than these two together.
Yes.
And I go back to the Stone Age when actually the doors were open. You could walk into an agent's office and talk to the secretary and actually just get in to talk to the agent. There was one agent, I forget his name. He was an older gentleman. I used to go see him every Friday. I mean, I'd sit with him for 2 hours and, and like Bobby said, talk about how hard it was in the business. And he would always pat me on the back and tell me to keep going. And I had another friend, whenever we would meet on Broadway, we're making rounds or whatever, and we would say, 1 more 10 years. 1 more 10 years. You're in it.
Wow.
You're in it. If you believe it's your destiny, you're in it forever, and you're never going to get out. It's worse than the mob. Really. Bobby got out by killing himself, but as being an actor, you can't get out until you die by somebody else's hand. But anyway, it was, not that it was open doors, but you could get in. It also was, it wasn't just visual. In other words, the whole business went towards visual because that's what we became as a society, visual. So they cast people because of how they look a lot of times rather than talent. And before it became corporate, before it was corporate, it was based on talent and look, but talent, but more and more. And today it's a lot of how people look. And now with AI, we're not even going to be ourselves.
Oh, that's
so,
scary.
Yeah, that's
it's changed dramatic because the walls went up, and like for Jason when he started or Bobby when they started, they couldn't get into an agent's office. You had to go through 3 or 4 levels. You had to know somebody.
Yeah, most definitely.
I was out in California once, and I tried to get in some agent's office, and I went out to a bar. I was dancing with some girl, and she was the secretary to the place I had tried to get in that day or the day before, and I never saw her, but we were whatever. And
we'll let our imaginaries wander.
And the next day, I'm in the office.
Omerta.
Exactly. There you go.
Omerta on that one.
The next day, I'm in the office being interviewed by the agent.
Wow.
I went to see the secretary, and she got me right in. And so it was a different. Now as when these guys started, it was like wall after wall after wall. You just couldn't get to see people. It was just impossible. And try to get people to come and see your work, which was another thing, and when I first started and was getting, if you did a showcase, which was the way you did it in New York, you did a play, then you could get agents to come and see you. They literally would come and look at your work. It was still hard to get them to sign you because they wanted you to be cornflakes. If you weren't cornflakes, which means, you were a product that they could sell, they weren't going to sign you. Wow. And, I even asked an agent one time, don't you want to develop a career? I'm fairly good at this stuff. He said, Danny, it was the age of the blonde. He said, if I get a blonde kid in here, I get $5,000 with one phone call. He said, what am I going to do with you? I said, well, you got to work. You got to work and we'll build a career together. They don't want to do that.
Yeah, it's very true.
You really need to have leverage. And once we all were on the show, we had that leverage that could get us in the door. And James provided that for me, at least, and for everyone else too. He gave everyone a chance. And if he liked you, you were going to stay, and David Chase. So we had that leverage to kind of go on with our careers, whatever that is, but before that, like Danny says, it was very, very difficult to just do anything.
And just what I say is indicative. I've been a member of the Actors Studio since 1988, and before that I used to serve. And there's so much talent in that building, and many people never get the opportunity to work for money, and it's just it's sinful. It really is.
Yeah, I think you touched on a good point. Bobby, you had talked about how previously it was in person, right? You want an audition, you go audition, you see them in person. And they say, okay, here's your scene. I want you to run through the scene. And you got people watching you, and you have to perform in front of them in person.
Right.
But now you just see these people. They just take a video on their phone. They send it in. That's my audition tape. And it's like, where's the – and then, Dan, you had touched on half the time they're not even looking if you can act or not. They just want to see, do you have the look? All right, cool. We'll put the look in, and we'll make it work, right? We'll figure it out.
Yeah.
It's like
there are still casting directors that still will call you in. People like Ellen Lewis, Georgianne Walken, they'll still call you in. You have to make the initial tape. Those old school people are still the best, and you can meet the director, but it's really become a little bit more difficult. The union, we had negotiated to do less pages. It seemed like after COVID, we would be given 10 pages to memorize. And you memorize it because everyone else is doing it. You got to be at your top level because, as I said, the talent pool is widened because of the Zoom. You can have someone in Georgia audition or LA come to New York, or you're in, you know what I'm saying? So there's a lot more, it's competitiveness because of the pool widening. In New York, it was just, get the New York actors. You know what I mean? It was a little bit rarer to get other, so now it's just, so now we negotiated to 5 pages, I think it is, for an independent film or something like that. They only can give a certain, and I think there's some sort of stipend to make tapes, because it was out of control. And of course, I'm not going to say anything. Everyone's saving money because you don't have to go in. They don't have to hire somebody to write down what number you use. So it's easy. But you know, it's the easy. I feel like it's the easy way out. I think the real way is to find out who that person is, because then you go in and that person, that casting director like Georgianne Walken could give you an adjustment. You might be playing something a little different, and that one adjustment, the director sees that, bam, that's the guy.
Yeah, and and that's a good point of adjustments too, is because if you just send in, like a tape, one, there's a huge difference between performing in front of, by yourself in front of a camera versus performing in front of a table full of people, right? When you have people's eyes watching you, there's a difference between, it's much easier to do it by yourself when nobody's looking. But your point of making those adjustments is, I feel like they can tell if you're moldable. How do you take adjustment? How do you take some of this criticism? Like, I need to make an adjustment on this person. Can they make that adjustment real quickly, or is it going to be a challenge? Because I imagine as a director, that's a very important piece of hiring an actor or an actress is, can they make these little adjustments on the fly? And if they can't, then this is going to be a very difficult person to work with. You need to be moldable, meaning like, okay, you're doing a little too much here, you're doing not enough here, I need you to change it this way, change it that way. And when they can see that in person, right on the fly, it's like, bang, all right, I got the guy or the girl.
Yeah. Also, you have nervous energy and adrenaline when you go in person. I mean,
most definitely.
You're a different person in the room than you are, like we're talking here in front of Zoom. I'm different in front of Zoom. I'm not the guy who used to go in and be nervous outside and ready to go and all this other stuff. You get in front of the camera and you're in your home. It's just a whole different environment and a whole different nervous energy, and the adrenaline is not the personal. Yeah. The personal, personality and the personal is not there.
Yeah, when you're there, you for lack of, but you feel seen. Where you talk about the talent pool, and it's like all these people sending in all these tapes. I mean, the reality is, who's to say anyone even got to see your tape? Whereas if you're actually in the room with these casting people, you feel seen. It's like, with all these tapes coming in, I mean, you hope that someone got eyes on it, right? It's like, you put a lot of work into these things, and you hope that you actually have a legitimate shot. But, you might be able to make them a million tapes, but, how many are getting seen?
Yeah, exactly.
That's the reality of it.
I mean, that's a great way to say, too, because, I mean, I relate back to that when I was playing basketball in high school, right? And you're trying to get seen by colleges. You can make 1 million highlight tapes and send them out, but you don't really know if the coach is even getting them, if he's even watching them. But you go to a tournament where the coaches are sitting in the stands, it's a different story because you know that they're watching the game. You know that they saw you, whereas you send a highlight reel.
Exactly.
An example from The Sopranos, from my audition for Philly Parisi, I went in and I auditioned for Chase. Chase was sitting there, and it was him and Terry Winter. I didn't know who Terry was at the time. And I read for Philly, and then David said to me, "Could you stay a minute? Because I want you to read another thing." Yeah. And that's always funny in the back of your head as an actor. No, I'm not. I'm not staying. And you give me the part or not. really what you want to say is, here's my arm. You could take my arm. I'll take the part, please.
Yeah,
But there we were. I was in the room with him, and I said to myself, well, there's 24 guys up for this part. I beat the first 12. I'm in the middle. I was like number 13. I said, well, I beat the first 12. I don't know what's going to happen with the next 12. But because he took a fresh script, and he gave it to me, and I read it. And so you have that too, that personal thing with the casting director or the director.
It's very, very true, because a part of my business, what I do is I still go into businesses and I shake people's hands and I look them in their face. And sometimes I get these younger people, like, I'm 32, so maybe people my age or younger, but they look at me like, why are you here? Like, can't you just call or just like Zoom me? And I'm like, you're not used to people like showing up here, are you? And they're like, no, we're not. And I've had a lot more success just showing up in person, shaking your hand, looking in your eye, maybe seeing if I can crack a joke, how I can understand your personality. Because, like you said, if you just take a tape, you only know that person because they just probably tried it 50 times and took the best take. So it's a big difference when you're actually in person with the person.
There's something to be said for, in-person meetings and shaking somebody's hand, sitting down with them in person versus Zoom. There's so much more that gets accomplished, and just the aura behind the meeting, the feeling of sitting down with somebody, looking at them. Like even right now, right? If we were doing this in person, it would the feeling of us just sitting around a table, all looking at each other, and you vibe off each other's energy versus over a screen. I mean, this is how we have to do it. But
this is the new reality of what the world we live in now.
It
so
is.
It's just I just hope that like we can do the tapes, and people call us in, directors call us in, and I have done some that they've called me in, and that's great to go in and meet the director and meet the casting director. But it's just, this is the reality. The first step is always is going to be the tape or a live Zoom. It's really hard, and I've done those readings with the casting directors on the Zoom. It's ridiculous.
It's weird. It's weird. It's probably weird.
You're in that room with that Zoom, with the casting director. You can really, you're talking and listening. This is like a flat screen. It's just
Well, a sidebar is the biggest thing for me with cigar. We're talking about your cigars is the draw. So the draw on the cigar has been extremely, extremely good. I like to say you get an ample amount of smoke. When you smoke a cigar, you always want that big inhale of smoke or taking of smoke, and it's accomplished that. So the coffee's very good. Cigars are very good. You guys are doing a good job.
Good to hear.
But, those cigars are custom created. Like when you make the order, that's when they make the cigar.
Oh, okay.
So they're made to order, not just you don't just have a stockpile of them sitting somewhere.
Mm-hmm. No.
Gotcha.
So now where are these made? Are these made in America? Are they made in a factory in DR somewhere? Or
Florida, right? Is that right? Am I wrong?
No, they're rolled in Texas.
Oh, rolled in Texas. Oh, my wife's from Texas. I love Texas.
I believe so. Yeah.
Hey, okay.
I love Texas.
That's great.
My wife is
tobacco,
from.
I think, is from South America, right? Or the tobacco is from where it's from?
Yeah. From
DR probably.
Right, yeah, from Dominican Republic. Yes.
Yes,
and,
Dominican Republic.
Nicaraguan, the Maduro. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, and mostly Dominican Republic. Yeah.
Beautiful.
Nice. That's actually where So I don't know if you know, but we have our own cigar called the Blueprint, which is up over here and there. Which
nice.
actually we gave Andrew, thank you. We gave him some of our cigars for you guys to try. But our cigars are rolled in Dominican Republic as well, and have a blend of a bunch of different tobacco.
Seems to be the place.
Yeah, it's only a handful of countries: Nicaragua, Dominican Republic. I mean, you obviously have Cuba, you have Honduras.
You got to remember, as the climate changes, the world, our vanishing wilderness, so to say, the region and the climates. For instance, I read an article in the Times about Champagne, that the French region of Champagne is being replaced by this place in England because of the sunshine and the soil and everything. So things are shifting in other regions. Mm-hmm. It doesn't have to be a Cuban cigar, so to say, to be the best cigar.
Most definitely.
The Dominicans, they're growing tobacco that really is savory, and it's really nice, good stuff.
Yeah, the non-Cuban cigars are just as good or even better than the Cuban cigars.
Yes.
I don't really smoke that. Like if someone gives me a Cuban, I'll smoke it, but I don't look for Cuban cigars. I won't be biased and say my cigar is my favorite, but there's so many other good cigars from Nicaragua, Honduras, Dominican Republic.
Yeah, I always just say that a lot of people always ask, I mean, us being, having a cigar show and having our own cigar brand and everything, people always say, "Oh, you're the cigar guy," and they come in and they say, "Oh, so are Cubans everything that they're cracked up to be?" And I always say, listen, Cuba is just another country that makes cigars. Okay, just like Nicaragua, like Dominican Republic, like Honduran, like Ecuador, Mexico, all these different regions. There's going to be cigars that come out of those countries that are good, and there's going to be cigars that come out of those countries that are bad. If you don't like the way that Cuban tobacco tastes, you're not going to like Cuban cigars. Just like, if you don't like the way that Mexican coffee tastes, you're not going to like Mexican coffee or the coffee that comes out of Mexico. It's every country has their own flavors, has their own cigars that come out of there. Some are going to be good. They're going to fit your palate. Some are going to be bad. I've had Cuban cigars that knock your socks off. I've also had Cuban cigars that taste like shit. So it's just, it's your personal preference. And I would say that a lot of the non-Cubans are they're really coming out. Bobby, like you had said, where, their tides are changing, and Cuban used to be, the stronghold on cigars, but now a lot of these other countries are really stepping their game up.
The climate, the soil. I mean, like for instance, the wine in Naples, the Vesuvio, that soil, that volcanic soil, is very rich. So I mean, it doesn't mean everything is shifting. So there are people. I mean, I always say, if the shoe fits, wear it. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
You could smoke a $20 cigar, or you can have a $50 bottle of wine. I have a $10 bottle of wine, and I like my $10 bottle. I like the way it tastes. It's just good.
Yeah.
I've had champagne that from the 1901 at Rayo's with Vinny Pastor. And we both looked at each other after we drank the champagne. What is this?
You're like, give me that $5 bottle.
Now, the wine was better. The vintage wine. Now, that was different. But the champagne was, I don't know. I couldn't taste the difference.
Wow. Like you had said, the shoe fits, wear it, man. Yeah. If you like the $5 bottle, a $10 bottle, by all means, more power to you. That means you could buy more for the same price. Great.
More for the same price.
We got... So Sopranos 25th anniversary.
Yes, congratulations, by the way, 25th anniversary. I mean, that's
great.
That's awesome.
Unbelievable.
It was the first show, because I was about 7, 8 years old. It was the first show I was actually kind of sort of able to watch with my family, and it turned me on to a lot of new things in life, between naked women, killing. It was a good learning experience. But I'm sure we can have a 3-hour podcast talking about all your interactions with James Gandolfini and all the lives, and because all you hear about him is how much of a good person he was. But I wanted to ask you guys if each of you have one special moment that you both adore, that you all adore, with James Gandolfini, whether it was on the show, whether it was in your personal. Do you guys have something in mind that resonates with you pretty well with James Gandolfini?
All right, I'll tell mine very quickly. Golf cart scene with James. We're in a golf cart. I have to just drive up, drop him off, say, I'll see you later. We do a couple of takes, and Jimmy says to me in between the takes, I'll give you $5,000 if you drive the golf cart into that pond. And he's freaking serious. And I know him as my friend. Okay. And I know I would have been given the money. No problem. That's how he was at that stage in season 6, or season 5. He was just doing it every day. He just wanted to have some fun. And I said, James, I love you, and this is the kind of guy he was. He would do what everyone said he couldn't do, he would do.
That's awesome.
But I didn't have the cojones to do it, because I figured, man, if I drive it, he gets hurt. I know I'm not going to be.
Oh, he wanted to do it. He wanted to do while you guys were in the car. In the cart,
the golf cart, to drive it into that pond.
Drive it into the pond.
He said, drive it into the pond, going to be $5,000.
That's so
he
funny.
meant it. But I said, I can't do it. You get hurt, I'm going to be in trouble, man.
You thought about it, though. You can't say you didn't.
That was one of the best moments I ever had.
That's
you can't
great.
say that you didn't think about it for a split second, though.
I did.
That's awesome.
That's mine.
Golf cart into the pond is quite a
for $5,000, no less.
I'd have said make it 10, and you got a deal.
Yeah, right.
Don't get greedy. Okay?
Listen, you're talking about my career, we're talking about your health, talking about personal injuries.
Well,
make it 10.
Bob was thinking for the future. He's like, if I do this and end up hurting him,
I'm
I'm going to be known as the guy who hurt Tony Soprano.
Guess what, Bobby? You're dead.
And we already used the twin rule, so we can't bring you back. Okay.
That's it.
Seriously.
Yeah, if he gets hurt, the next 5 episodes.
Then now you become the guy who hurt James Gandolfini.
Well, it could spin off
Yes,
like
that too.
he didn't want to let you go to Florida, so you're like, screw it. If I can't go to Florida, I'm gonna take him down with me into the pond, and that would have been funny.
My story is it was one night we were shooting, and it was a long shoot. It was like a 14-hour shoot. We did that a lot, and an actress left. I worked with Rod Steiger, and Brando left Steiger in the car, on the waterfront, and Steiger never left the set. And that's how you learn. You learn from people you respect. And I worked with Steiger, and I had 4 lines opposite him. I played his lieutenant, and he was a mob. We were mob guys, and he stayed 2 hours to give me my off-camera lines. And I learned I would never leave a partner, because it's a big difference, the real voice of your partner versus somebody else standing in for them. Anyway, so Jimmy was working with an actress, and she left. And I saw him turn around and walk into the corner and just, punch the wall, and he was so angry. But he wouldn't show it. He wouldn't show other people. It was just him in isolation showing his dismay. So we had a big scene together, and I had a big scene the next day, and they wanted me to leave. They said, Danny, go home. You got a big scene. And I said, I'm not going home. I said, they said, we want you to go home. You got a big scene tomorrow. Somebody will give me the lines off camera. I said, no, I'm not going. And then they kept pushing me, and I said, listen, take me off the clock. You don't own me. It's my time. I'm staying. And I stayed to give him the lines. And for some reason, I get emotional when I tell us. So when they called cut, he came over to me, and he was a massive man. I always say that he was not just a big guy; he was a massive. And he picked me up like I weighed 2 pounds, and he always used to call me the old man. And he just hugged me and said, "Thanks, old man.
Wow,
thank you." And
that's special.
Wow,
that's special.
That was a special moment.
Most definitely. I mean,
then he said he'd give me $5,000 if I ran the golf cart into the.
Oh, he asked you first. All right.
No. So you stayed to return the favor. Say, I'm gonna give. Somebody had given me my lines and stayed with me. So now I'm gonna pay it forward. I'm staying for you. Don't pay me, but I'm staying because I know what it feels like when when the person that I'm supposed to do the scene with reads them to me. I'm gonna read them to you.
It's just respectful, and the other thing is, we rely on each other's voice. I mean, and person. It just feeds us. It's I studied with Strasberg, and he always told us, the biggest prop on the set is your partner. That's the biggest prop you have.
Mm-hmm.
And I remember Al Pacino giving a talk when I was a very young actor. I was in acting school, and he said, whatever's real on the set, just kick the. He said he worked in Indian Monster Bronx, and the only thing he had was a telephone booth. He said, I kicked the shit out of that telephone booth. He said, he said, when you have something real, use it. And that's we're there to create reality where none exists, which is what acting is. And so anytime you have reality, you try to use it.
That's a great way to put it. We're there to create reality where reality doesn't exist.
It's true.
That's a beautiful line. I've never heard that. That's beautiful.
That was good. We might have to take that one, exchange it for what girls together goes together. All right, Jason, you're up.
Well, I mean, personally, I had I was lucky enough to have like a one-on-one dinner with Jim down in the meatpacking district years, obviously a long time ago while we were shooting the show. And for me personally, that night meant the world. But as far as just being able to kind of chop it up with him and go, listen to what he had to say, I was just trying to get everything I could possibly get from the man. I looked up to him tremendously. I was a big fan of the show before I got on it, so for me it was like the biggest deal in the world. Professionally, I remember the scene where he like kicks the shit out of me in the strip club bathroom.
Yeah.
And I mean, I love stuff like that. I think it's fun. I mean, again, goes back to what Danny's saying. It's like, the reality of it is right there. We're in a real bathroom. There's real walls that you're getting slammed up against, and there's not much acting you have to do. I mean, you got this big guy who's just, flipping you all around the place. In one of the takes, when he's grabbing me, he accidentally smacked my head up against the tile. Like, we don't stop. We keep going. He obviously, I felt it, I knew, but he must have, felt the jolt as well. And we keep going. We go through the scene. He leaves me on the bathroom floor. The scene ends. He walks out. And as soon as they yell cut, he comes running back in, and he's like, comes to the floor, and he's like, "Are you okay? I know I hit your head. You all right?" And it's just like, that's the kind of guy, it was just like, this guy who I idolize is like, he's got a great heart. He gives a shit about everybody, and, that's kind of a testament to the kind of guy he was,
Most definitely.
And the ability to be able to just like switch it on and off. Right, like he was in the scene, right, and obviously he knows that I might have really hurt this kid, but he just continues with the scene. But as soon as they yell cut, it's light switch off, and he's no longer Tony. He's James. He's Jim. He's like, run back in. Shit, are you okay? To be able to do that, because a lot of people I've heard the stories that are like method actors, when they're on set, they're in. They're in their role, and they never get out of it until they leave the set. And it's like, for him to be able to switch it on and off like that is very impressive.
But just do me a favor. We know that we got to check the gun. They show us the guns before we fire them.
We all know when that happens.
Make sure there are caps, man, in there, man.
Yeah, we don't want a rust scenario.
A rust scenario?
You don't know what happened with Russ?
Or is that, you mean Baldwin?
Yeah, that's the movie that he was filming was called Rust. I just called Rust.
I just know another movie.
Yeah, but that's a good point too. Like even with, I had to handle a gun. I'm sure Danny had to handle a gun. Jason, you had to handle a gun too.
Yeah.
Gun. And they were really careful with us. They go through step A, B, C, and D. Show us the caps, the charge. It was very, very. I'm not saying anything like that show you mentioned. That always. Goodwill to everyone, but I'm just saying on our set that was a very important thing. That even the stunt coordinator Pete Picosi, very 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 careful about all of us, James included. Making sure that our safety was paramount.
Yeah, it's important. I can't imagine what it's even after going through all of those checks and all the safety protocols, and then it comes time where you have to handle the gun and God forbid, you're firing the gun. You're still probably super tentative and almost nervous. Like I know we went through all the checks. I know we went through everything, but you're still a little. There's like a small inkling in the back of your mind, right? I can't imagine the feeling.
I don't know if you guys feel the same way, but Jason, when you get killed at the end in season 2 with Vito, for some reason I always thought the gun that he kills you with is so small. Did you ever notice that? It looks like such a small little gun. It might be because he's a bigger guy, but every time I see that, I'm like, that gun looks so small.
That is true. I guess now that you mentioned it, I probably should have been insulted about it. Unfortunately, it goes back to like what Dan was saying before. When can he miss or whatever? I mean, I actually wasn't the stunt guy was the one who actually you see fall over into the snow or whatever. But the gun was small enough that maybe after you fall over, you just get back up. I'm okay. I'm all right.
I'm good.
Okay.
You're coming back, man. You're coming back.
Yeah.
That's a good point.
We do one like that just so we have it. We do one where I get up, I'm okay.
That's funny.
But when you talk about the danger, when Philly was shot in the car, they all told me, close your eyes because there's little particles that could hurt you. And they said, make sure when he shoots, you close your eyes. Make sure you do that. That was
it's something to be aware of.
My eyes got closed. I closed my eyes.
Now, Jace, is that picture behind you? Is that a Sopranos picture with Sergeant Pepper's theme?
I just got this. So
that's awesome. So that's like the famous Beatles cover album.
Yeah.
Hang on. Let me show you guys real quick.
That's actually very, very cool. Must have been AI.
Yeah. So, all right, let's see here.
Wow.
So, there's David Chase right there, right? And I'm over here. Can you see me?
Yeah.
Right? And let's see. Where are the boys? Do you guys know where you are in this? I can't even remember. I'm looking at everybody's face.
I have no idea.
Oh,
I think I'm
Dan,
in
you're
the-
right there.
I think I'm on right on top of that. Right onto
Oh,
that.
yeah,
right
and there's Bobby.
Wow.
There you
Yep,
go.
yep.
That's a cool picture.
That's a very cool,
Yeah,
very
it's
cool
pretty
poster.
cool, right?
Yeah, as you're talking,
Yeah,
I'm looking at it.
It's the only piece of Soprano anything that I have in my house, but I thought it was,
Really?
it was different enough. Yeah,
I'm
yeah, yeah.
shocked
I mean,
by
I
that.
don't
It's the
have any-
only piece of Sopranos that you have. Oh, we lost him.
Oh, he hung
That's
up.
nice.
He hung up. No, it's really nice. Now, like, how is it when you guys are out in public, right? Like, do people recognize you instantly? Do people just like profess how much they love the show, your the favorite scene that you were in? Like, what's that like being like in everyday life now, being that the
Well,
show is so
a lot
popular?
of people, because of the COVID crisis, a couple of generations that are checking us out, and I get a lot more people coming up to me and saying, love you on the show, and it's great. It's a great blessing to be recognized, and I think more than ever, it's been happening for me at least because of that, because of the crisis. That's some positive things that happened from it also, and here we're together, because of it. You know what I mean? So
I would think COVID, everyone being home, like kind of amplified The Sopranos even more.
Yes.
Right.
Yeah, they rewatch it. Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, I definitely did. I definitely
a
did.
lot of
what happened
generations,
too
a
is
couple of
that-
generations.
For
Yeah,
sure.
Over the years, we just get more and more fans. We get more and more people watching it. So, we get recognized more and more because there are more people out there that are watching the show.
Yeah, because I mean, it
who
was.
have watched it. Besides the original, between 99 and 2007, then we have since 2007, we have 16 years or whatever it is. And people, new generations have watched it. So many more people have watched The Sopranos over the 25 years. So our recognition factor goes up, and we are stopped in public, and our fans are great. They're always nice. They're never intrusive, and they say your lines. They know more lines.
Yeah.
I forgot the lines that they say.
Have you ever met somebody? Because so when did it ended? What 2007?
Mm-hmm.
So
2007
okay,
was
so
the
if you
last.
had somebody born in 2008, right? Now we're in 2024. They're 16 years old. Have you met somebody yet that says, "Hey, I'm a fan of the show," and you guys filmed it before they were even born? Because you can imagine
Jason,
it.
your son, right, Jay?
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Yeah. Absolutely. So
I thought you
son
got
is
mad
good.
at us, Jason. You hung up. I was like,
yeah. Sorry, enough of this. You don't believe me that I don't have anything else hanging around? No. So my son is 15, and he started asking me, "Oh, I want to watch The Sopranos." I mean, he's always heard people, come up to me and say Jackie Jr. And to them, it was just like my kids. I have a daughter also.
yeah.
It's like, oh, that thing, they call you Jackie Jr. and that whatever that is. Like, but it was never really got into too much about it. But now that he's in high school, he's like, I want to watch.
Does he walk
I wanna
around
watch.
like,
I said,
my dad's
No.
Jackie Jr.
no, but no, he's good about it. But the funny thing is, so all his friends started watching it. Just randomly they started watching it, and he's like, Dad, I mean, all my friends now know what this is, and I'm the only one, and you're on the show. It's like, so he just started watching it. I mean, again, teenagers, they're getting into it.
Yeah.
They weren't even thought about yet. And
It's
when the show
wild,
started.
right? Like they weren't
Yeah.
even born, and the show is done. Like 2001 to 2007, right? And they weren't even born yet.
And-
Weren't even a
and-
twinkle in the eye yet. And now it's
Exactly. And he loves it. And the thing is, you might think, well, this generation with the iPhones and, all that stuff, that it might take them out of it because we had flip phone, we were doing the flip phones back then. And it just, honestly, I watched like the first, maybe 2 seasons or something with him when he started watching it. And it's still as good as it ever was. And honestly, it doesn't, you get sucked into the world. It's not the other way around. It doesn't, it's not distracting, and it doesn't bother them. And it certainly didn't bother me to see that. And yeah, man, it holds up for sure. And it's, like you said, 25 years. We had the anniversary. It's really something.
Now,
it is.
Now, the age-old question is, does Tony Soprano die at the end, or does he live? What's everyone's take on it?
Well, I don't call TV art, but art is whatever's in the eye of the beholder.
Yeah.
And that's what Chase did. And months before, not that I ever knew anything, I just said to myself, how do you end The Sopranos? You just end it. You know, he didn't. He reflected life. He didn't tie up loose ends. We don't know what happened to Russian and the rapist and all these little loose ends. Just in all of our lives, we have these loose ends we don't tie up. So how do you end The Sopranos? You just end it. Now, he's spoken many times, but I think I heard one time that they keep living, they go on living. We're just not watching them anymore.
Because there's so many like on YouTube, so many Soprano ending conspiracies. I think, Dan, you might be even one where you were behind killing him.
I'm the top.
Right?
I'm the top character to assassinate. I'm number one.
It's so crazy how people get so involved and just
that's why it should have continued the show. The show should have gone on for another 2 years.
Well, I mean, you know what's great about an ending like that is, you could see let's say it's been 25 years, right? You can see maybe in another 10 or 15 years or so, somebody says, you know what, I want to continue the story, or I'm going to do another spinoff. You can having an ending like that where you're can go either way. You can have some. Now, granted, I would hope that, because this can go one of two different ways, right? You can have somebody that comes in that really wants to give the show its respect, right, and create something that adds to the show that doesn't butcher it, but continues the story. Maybe a backstory, or maybe the kids come up and now they're another version of it. But then it could go the other way, where you see a lot of these people that are coming out and making these movies. Oh, I'm going to remake this movie from the 60s or the 80s, and they just butcher it. And I go, you don't have to remake it. It's great the way it is. Don't touch it, right? So you can kind of go one of two ways. That's but having an ending like that, it leaves the door it leaves it cracked. Leaves that door open a couple of inches. That it's wild.
Yeah. Well, for me, I mean, I think in that vein of like nothing ever kind of got sewn up on the show, like you said, the Russian, this. For me, I felt like Tony, that feeling that he had in the diner, and that sort of like that paranoia and that having to look over your shoulder. For me, that's what kept going on in that fictional world. That that it continued on, but that was now going to be his life. That he was going to have to be looking over his shoulder.
And, he says constantly, I'm either gonna get killed or I'm gonna go to prison. So I mean that's
it's two ways.
Those are the two alternatives.
I mean, I think it's not going to end. You know what I mean, Peter Bogdanovich. He wrote a little bit of a thing about it, its openness and how in perpetuity things that you're going to have Boy Scouts, you're going to have the brothers, the African American cats, you're going to have the guy with the members only jacket, and Tony's having the onion rings, and you always it just goes on. It doesn't matter that you have a finality of Tony getting massacred. It's going to happen. People are going to get arrested. It's America. You know what I mean? And one door closes, another one opens. And I thought it was a brilliant way to end the show. In that vein, that members only guy, everyone thought is that guy gonna, you make it up like Danny was saying. It's for you to envision, but at the same time, I think it's America. This is America.
Most definitely. Absolutely.
And Dan, like you had said, it leaves it, it's art's in the eye of the beholder, right? So it leaves it open for whoever's watching it. You create your own ending of how do you think this? Do you think he lives on and keeps going? You think he gets killed? You think so? It leaves it open for you, and it makes the experience of The Sopranos different for everybody. However they envision the couple of if there was going to be a couple of episodes after that finale, it leaves it open to them. How do you think it would go? And the conversation can spark of 5 different ways.
And the proof of the greatness of the show is that 25 years later, people are still debating the endings of the show. No TV show with all the endings, and said there were great shows along the way. None of them as great as The Sopranos, and none of them talked about as fervently as The Sopranos. I mean, it's still debated.
Most definitely. 25
years later, well, it's 16 years later, whatever, from 2007.
Yeah.
And people are still, well, what's the ending? What happened? And everybody's still debating a show that went on 16 years ago.
And that's the beauty of it, like you said. Like it keeps the show in a way still relevant, where people are still talking about it to this day. Like what do you think happened? I think this, I think that, and it's a way.
Yeah.
Well,
It's not
everybody
definitive.
we all long to have closure in our lives, that final scene, and but life's not really like that. It's not. It just goes on.
Most
you know,
definitely.
you don't always have the St. Valentine's Day
They keep
massacre.
living. We're just not watching them.
Yes.
Yeah, that's another great way to put it. Yeah.
We as Americans want closure. We want to see the end. We want to see the crescendo, the Super Bowl, they win and stuff like that. But life's not like that.
Yeah, for sure.
Mm.
Well, gentlemen, we had an hour and a half of your time. We really, really appreciate you coming on the Burn Down podcast, talking about your cigars, talking about your coffee. Delicious, by the way. At this point of the podcast, we like to kind of give you guys the red carpet, and whoever wants to be the top spokesperson for Omerta, just plug away where people can find the coffee, where they can find the cigars, where they can find you guys. Please.
If you have any events coming up, if you have any special, things going on, new brands coming out, new this, new that, the red carpet's yours. Plug away.
Well, I'll say a little something. Sure.
Yeah, Jay.
Well, so you can pick up the stuff, the merchandise, the mugs. There you go. Show that mug again, there, Bobby. Let's see the mug one more time. There we go. You get the coffee, the cigars at shopomerta.com. Yes, we're going to be doing some appearances. We have some other exciting stuff coming up that we can't talk about just yet. But if you follow us on Instagram at @GetOmerta, that's on Instagram at @GetOmerta, and follow the website as well. We'll keep everybody updated with everything going on. But look for us in stores, and for now, you can order the stuff online.
Great.
Awesome.
Well, Dan, Rob, Bob, Jason, thank you guys so much again for coming on. It's been a great time talking to you. Thank you for your time. We really, really appreciate it. We hope you had a good time.
Next time we're gonna have to meet in person and have a cigar and a cup of coffee in person.
Yeah,
sure. Come to New York, but okay, do me a favor.
Yeah. Well, I'm here already.
We are in New York.
I'm already here.
No,
So.
you're here. You're in New York City.
No, we're in Long Island.
I can get to New York City,
I know
no
you're in
problem.
Long Island.
Long Island.
I can get there.
That's another.
That's another city.
Listen,
You're right.
you pick the place. We'll be there.
Yeah.
That's our 3-hour trip.
You're right. It's a whole other state.
All right.
But thank you, gentlemen, again, and best of luck with all your adventures.
Thank you very much, guys. God bless you.
Thank you, gentlemen. Good night.
Good night.